The man.
The machine.
Hi everyone, welcome to Stars and Cars, the live shows with me, Mick, and my friend, who is today, I guess, is my Norman Tuttle to my Jesse Mach. Obviously, you knew I was going to say that, so Colin, say hello.
How are you guys?
How are you doing? So, guys, just a little bit about us. We're Stars and Cars events. So, basically, we run a huge event up in Bolton, in Lancashire, in sunny England, and this is just a bit of an intro about what we do. Stars and Cars is the UK's largest display of movie and TV replica vehicles in the country, hosting your favourite vehicles from both the big and small screen. We also have dozens of professional characters on hand during the day for you to interact with. To top it off, we also have a large selection of movie props to see, as well as a huge range of traders to fulfil all your geeky needs. So that's us, and the best bit about that is, like we said at the end, the best bit is the whole event is done for our local children's hospice, so we don't take a penny from the profits of the event. We give it all to our local children's hospice, which is called Darien House Children's Hospice. For Darien House to provide the services to families and children, it costs them around £4.8 million every year. Out of that, they only receive about between 8 and 10% from any statutory sources. So it's a massive chunk of money that we help them with. Last year we donated £28,000 to the charity, and we put on an awesome show as well. So thanks a lot. So guys, we've got John Rowlands with us, who's built the amazing Street Hawk replica bike. We've also got Rex Smith hanging around in the green room waiting for your questions. So get your questions in the comments. Fire them over. We can't wait. I know Rex is eager. He's just had his banana. He's had his orange juice. He's just woke up. He's early doors over there in LA, so he's ready to go. But yeah, for now, I'll hand you over to Colin to say a few words about the event.
Hi guys. Tonight we're going back to the 80s to a world of superheroes and super machines. We're going to activate hyperthrust up to 300 miles an hour, jump into the world of the man, the machine, Street Hawk. Now, before we introduce our first guest, we've got a copy of the Street Hawk series up for grabs tonight. So this is all 12 episodes plus the feature-length pilot. It's got a cool documentary. It's got some interviews with the cast and crew, and you get a booklet, and it's very cool and nostalgic and definitely worth winning. To do that, all you need to do is head over to our Just Giving page and make a £2 donation to Darien House Children's Hospice, and at the end of the show we will pick a winner, and you'll be the proud winner of that DVD series. So we're going to bring out our first guest. This is the guy who's made all this possible for us tonight. He brought his amazing Street Hawk bike to our event in 2019. He'll be back next year with the bike and something very special for us, an additional prop that he's going to build. That is going to be for next year. He is a real-life crime fighter when he's not doing events. He is Mr. John Rowlands. How you doing, mate?
Hello, Colin. How you doing? All right. How everybody?
Yeah.
Everybody all right? Cool. I'm in full uniform tonight, Colin. I've got my pass and my Street Hawk t-shirt, so we're good to go.
That is cool. You look like you got something very shiny behind you as well, there, mate.
Oh yeah, a couple of my replica helmets. That's which one can you see? That's the series version, and that's the pilot version there. So I've got a stunt version as well, which is the clear visor version. Yeah, which they use that to ride at night. Obviously,
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
So they're looking quite nicely polished then, and you've got some quite cool pictures behind as well there.
Yeah, I've tried to meet as many cast crew as I could. Obviously, they don't always come to the UK, but obviously I've met Rex, I've met Christopher Lloyd, and Daphne Ashbrook, who co-starred in Dog Eat Dog, I think it was, which is about a pop singer, which was quite a good episode. And a couple of posters, which were, I think that one was a UK one, and a US one. So obviously it's hard to come by the stuff these days, but you get what you can when you're on eBay, you know.
I mentioned in the intro there that you brought the bike to our event in 2019.
Yeah.
Just give the guys a little bit of an intro as to the bike that you built and how long that took.
Yeah, I started off in 2010. I was off work. I've been injured in work, so I was off work, and I thought I was watching what's it called? How it's made. I thought, oh, that's cool. You know, I wonder if I can make something. I thought, right, I've always wanted a street hawk bike. Didn't know if anybody existed, you know, if you could buy one, etc. So right, I'll build my own. I've never built anything in my life before like this. I'm a complete amateur, but I thought I'll give it a go. You know, I had the space. I had the will to do it, so that's what I did. I got a base bike from eBay, and just over the sort of the years, just squirreled away parts and trying to find parts and speaking to people online and all that kind of stuff. And it took a long time to do it, but it was worth it in the end, you know, because it's given us such a lot of great times, to be honest.
Yeah. Some great montage of pics there. One of them obviously being our event, but that last pic.
Yeah.
Obviously with the man Rex himself.
Yes,
so
indeed.
I think that's a good point to hand over to you, John, who's going to introduce Rex.
Indeed. So, guys, I have the great pleasure of introducing the next guest, who I am very pleased to call a friend. We've known each other since 2016. We met in London in the Comic Con in Olympia, and we've never stopped talking since. So, can I introduce the man, the machine, Mr. Rex Smith? Hello,
Cheers.
Rex. How are you, pal?
Hello,
you okay?
John. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's
always
good to see you.
Indeed.
We've shared quite a few pints and some good adventures together.
We have.
Parts of the world and more destinations to come.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
I thought I'd just tell everybody about how we met. I was at the London Comic Con. That was a huge event. That place, that setting, it was a massive. But you know, you're sitting there all day in the lineup, and you're going. I take time with everybody I meet. But I see my doppelganger, Street Hawk, there, and when he came up, I told him he was the prettiest girl in the room, and it was the beginning of a great friendship and a great adventure for us both. It's startling to me to your prowess and your accomplishment and your focus and vision for the bike. When we were in Scotland, and that's when I was reunited with it, you know, there's various bikes around the world in various states of decay. To see it just like it was, throwing my leg over the saddle, I was like Roy Rogers getting back on trigger. It's a moment I'll never forget. And I just, it is an amazing project. I remember when we met each other and you were describing, you were working on this, you said, you know, I've got a full-size picture of it in my garage, and I just look at that, and then I look at this, and then I look at that.
Yeah,
there was no blueprint.
No, nothing, no plans, nothing. No.
Looking at it in the kitchen.
Yeah. Like I said, I've never built anything before ever in my life, so it was just a desire to do it, because there wasn't one. There was the pilot version of the bike, none existed. So I thought, that's got to be done, you know. And like I say, I started in 2010, had a few breaks in between, but of course in 2018, ready for Scotland, we had a big push in me to get it ready. And we did a GoFundMe page, and the fans helped and contributed. You helped by signing a load of autographs, didn't you? Yeah. And that was great. That was great. That was a hell of an achievement, really, wasn't it? And I'll never forget, I was still building the bike at 7 o'clock in the morning in a garage in Scotland before I put it on the van to go to the venue. I was exhausted, but it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. You know, it really was.
It was the Apollo moonshot. It was. Man. It was like, and even your mate, who is the sort of the Norm. Yeah,
David Green.
Yeah, David.
Yeah.
Between the two of you, it really is inspired, and it's amazing. I was at a Comic-Con years ago, and I was talking to a man that builds the bat car, whatever, the replica Batmobile, the DeLorean, Back to the Future. He specializes in this. So he was going, listen, I'd like to, we should get together about building a street hawk. And just at that moment, this guy comes up and he goes, I bought all of the street hawk bikes from Universal. We had shot the first half of a season, and the word was we were coming back. We weren't, you do the gig. I went back to New York, and I was doing some Shakespeare in the park. Apparently, in those days, now everything goes to eBay or whatever, but 13 motorcycles, a dozen street hawk bikes, and one police hog, Harley Davidson.
Harley, yeah.
He bought them all for $3,800. And it was astounding. He had a photo album of him loading up a U-Haul truck.
Yeah.
And, the guy who builds the Batmobiles, he said, if we just had the molds. And I said, where are the molds? He went, oh, I got a picture of that. He goes, they wouldn't fit in the truck, so I threw them in the dumpster. And he was like, oh, yeah. But you have, I think you have sort of spurned a movement of now with 3D printers and such that I think you were the beginning of. There are people around the world now working on things inspired by your initial work.
Yeah. There's a few replicas that have in the making that have popped up afterwards. My good friend Seth in the US of A, he built the body panels for me, and he's been at it for a long time. They are, aren't they? Absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So
and the paint job.
Matt did the paint job for us. Matt's from the UK. He works on Car SOS, which is a program here in the United Kingdom, and he saw it. And again, it's like Gary was saying last week about the Batmobile movement and stuff. The internet brought people together, brought all the fans together, and all these people contacted me saying, "Oh, I can paint it for you." I'm thinking, "Oh, really? Okay, fine, okay."
Yeah.
Thank you. Put a lot of faith in people, and they delivered, and it was just spectacular, wasn't it?
Well, you have the most wonderful family, and it is a bit of a sacrifice, like between your work and your dedication, like the hammering in the garage and stuff. Hats off to your daughter, your wife. I mean, like everybody. What would you, man hours? What sort of ballpark figure would you say from when that bike rolled, the original motorcycle rolled into your garage to Scotland? 1,500.
I'd say
2,000.
Well, I would put it this way: I was putting in 16-hour days, 18-hour days on the week leading up to it. Yeah. So before that, maybe every day off. So I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot. I wouldn't even like to think, but I know I had about 5 hours sleep on the eve of Scotland, and then drove to Scotland. Then about 3 hours sleep, and then got out.
Wasn't it? It was terrific rains and such, right? But
all the way.
Once you got into Scotland, no more street lights.
No, nothing.
Back roads.
Yeah.
And pulling a trail.
Yeah. It was 8 hours. Me and Melanie in the Ford Transit van. Yeah. This is never going to end. What are we doing? But it was cool. It was cool.
The great thing is also it's a lot of work doing a weekend. It's a lot of hours, the setup,
it's long.
The time with the fans and all that. But we charged after work, even if we always found some good pints in Manchester, especially. When we went to that one evening out and the band was playing and it was cool. Like the first night of spring or whatever, we were at some massive place. And it was great because there was two girls looking like Spice Girls who got in a fight in the middle of the thing. And There was a punch up between
Yeah.
two beautiful girls at our right near our
That's
table.
right.
And I'm
Yeah.
going, hey, this is living. We're having fun now.
Yeah. Rex, I was saying to the chats before, all the times that we've got together, we've done a few shows. I've never asked you any questions. I've never interviewed you. So if you're cool with it, can I ask you a few questions about the bike and the series, stuff like that? Obviously, you know, we've talked and David and I have talked a lot. But what about the subject of David? Can I just wish huge congratulations to David and Fenner on the birth of their daughter a couple of weeks ago? Yeah. So that's the first Street Hawk baby. Orla. No, we were going to name her Rex, but we didn't think that was appropriate. You know. So yeah, Rexina. Yeah, I know. So that's really good news. Obviously, David and Fenner have been to the shows with us.
Congratulations!
Help and great news, isn't it? Really good news. So yeah, so I've got a few questions for you. The first question, and again, this kind of boils back to what I've done. Which bike did you prefer, or do you prefer, the pilot version designed by Andrew Probert, or the series version by Ron Cobb?
Well, I think the series version, only because I became so much time with it. You know, you're shooting from the hip on the pilot. When you settle in and you're doing a series, that's a completely different thing. But it was so all the wrinkles were smoothed out. All of the extras of operation of the machine guns and everything just clicked. My helmet was new and improved in terms of not having to manipulate it myself. It was, I would say that. Yeah, I would say the series.
Cool. Because obviously, having looked into a lot of it over the years, the pilot bike, they made two pilot bikes, didn't they? And they were very fragile and complex, really, weren't they? In comparison to the series bikes, because the series bikes were one big piece wrapped around the middle and the nose and the back piece. Obviously, the pilot version's all these different bits stuck on. So yeah, I can see why they did it. But as kids, we didn't know any different. We didn't have a clue that the bike had changed so dramatically until later on in life, you know.
Yeah, but, like I say, in the pilot, for example, like my helmet, I had to manipulate. It's a bit like Scotland, you know what I mean? Like the start date comes looming up. It's always something, and that was there were so many technical aspects to that show. Now it's a blue screen, and people, you know, you can create anything.
Anything you like,
but it was brick and mortar. It was brick and mortar filming with film. That's it.
Well, yeah, exactly. On the subject of riding, I know you've commented before, but what percentage in any typical episode did you ride the bike, and what percentage did the stunt guys do it?
I would ride up to the point of plate glass window, and then we'd give each other a thumbs up, and he'd always go, "Here comes another stereo for me." And, you know, obviously I had, you know, every great action hero, whatever, has the real hats off to the stuntman who is really carrying the day. These shows and these movies would be nothing without the stuntman. It's an exciting thing to have a comfort with the bike. You know, the bikes were, those brakes, as you know, are just breathe on the brakes. They're big enough to stop a truck. To slide into shot and hit your mark, I got to tell you, you know, our crew, it was, and, you know, I might get knocked for this, but it was a man's world of action, explosions, and director, especially Virgil Vogel, who directed half of them, and he did the pilot. Virgil Vogel was the oldest director of Universal, and he directed all of Steve McQueen's TV series, Wanted, Dead or Alive. And he used to go, "Kid, you're the next McQueen." I say, "I know it. I smell it. You're the kid." Anyway, didn't quite make the McQueen grade, but the machismo of, you know, of, you know, getting ready to, you're off camera on the bike and you're going to slide into shot. And fortunately, you know, I used to race motocross and I'm familiar and I've lived on motorcycles, but still to slide into shot, or for example, there was a shot in, I insisted on doing it in the junkyard where these telephone calls, they're not even anybody. Why would anybody answer a phone that goes, call from 66669999355? But anyway, I had to dump the bike and roll off it, you know?
All right.
And they were like, you want to do that? And then I said, I want to do it. And it was an approval and discussion with stunt coordinator. I said, I can pull this off and it'll look better. I mean, you know, there is the helmet hiding, but it's also, you know, I wanted to do it, and it was dirt.
Rex, was that in the second episode with George?
Yeah.
Was that in the
And then
the scrapyard? Yeah. That was cool. I didn't know that was you. I didn't know that was you. That's cool.
Yeah, and that was a you know, a really. I mean, think about what a heavy day that is for shooting. That's a day's work, you know, and, you know, you're young and you're sturdy and it's, you know, we all get used to everything. I'm getting used to being locked in my house.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting moment to me. I think one of in the pilot, when they had to put me in the tube with the bubbles coming up, I said, okay, yeah. I mean, you got the whole crew waiting. There was crews from other sound stages coming to see that. It was not the same as, you know, a girl in a bikini. It was more to go watch me make a fool of myself. And we were shooting at night, and that was the last shot. So I only had a thing like, you sure this is right? Or something like that. I went to my favorite Mexican restaurant and got a few margaritas in me before I did that to bolster my confidence before I did my Marilyn Monroe shot.
Cool. So I mean, obviously we've seen all the bits flying off the bike when the stunt guys landed. Did any of the bikes actually get wrecked, like completely wrecked and scrapped, or were they just patched up?
They're just you know, there were hero bikes for just, you know, on the sound stage, on the turntable, just polished and
perfect. You know.
And then there were some pretty, but they were always camera ready. But you can get away with a lot in film. You know, you can make something look spectacular, and when you really look, it's pretty shoddy. When if you're really standing next to you go, it's how the camera sees it. Some of them were pretty, you know, rattly. They've been through a lot, but there was a crew of maintenance on those bikes, you know, that looking after them. Like when we were out filming, you know, there would be, I don't know, 6 to 8 bikes in that truck, depending upon what was required for
what
the
doing. Yeah, that's
it. And if anything mucked up with one of them, they could wheel another one out. When we were doing the pilot, when I was dressed as a highway patrol officer, or not highway patrol, just a LAPD.
CHP, something like that. Yeah.
I said, it was lunch. I said, roll that thing out for me, you know? I mean, these were the days. And I just took off for a ride on it, and I hit the freeway, and I was hitting the siren. Woo! People are doing that, and I'm just giving a little thing as I went by.
Yeah.
You know, I have no idea. That would never happen now. But
no, you better get arrested now.
That was one of the great things about, you know, the 80s. There was a lot more freedom for for that kind of stuff. And here I am telling the policeman that story, but statute of limitations.
It's okay. Absolutely. 6 months gone. So Rex, going on to the show, really, and away from the bike, as it were, who was your favorite co-star? Because I was telling the guys before, you had a lot of big stars on the show, you know.
I'll tell you the most the most unusual who stood out to me, and I was Marjo Gointner.
Oh yeah, big
He,
guy.
he started, I knew a bit about his history. He was a child evangelist.
That's right.
Right there, if you look it up, there was I think an Academy Award documentary on him as a child, going, and the Lord will come down, and he was he played a strange individual, and truthfully, he was I not hard to figure out, but he made me think. I mean, when I was working with him, watching him work and stuff like that, I do remember him standing out as, like, we'd do a scene and he'd get out of the car in a scene and he's walking to the thing, and I'd go, is that him or is that the character? It's like the line between. Now let me see if I can get this thing for you. If I can take it off and put it back. This is a classic shot. There is Bianca Jagger, who was on screen.
Yeah.
And that's my right. Dog Palamine licking her ear, and I have no shirt on and just enjoying the hell out of it. That was in People magazine. I don't know how much she appreciated that. I mean, it's pretty hilarious. That's Mrs. Mick Jagger, or his ex-wife, being licked by my Staffordshire Terrier, Palamine. So that was kind of the and there was the one where pardon me about the name, but there was the woman who was a sort of X-rated film star.
Sybil Danning.
Yeah.
Sybil.
Yeah. Now I went to a private concert of a very eccentric, unbelievably talented pianist who was renowned as the greatest Chopin player in his time, right? It was an unusual thing to be invited to, and it was not a huge gathering, but I kept looking at this woman, and this was last year. I kept looking at this woman going, God, this lady's beautiful. She looks so familiar and stuff. And then it was her. It was Sybil. I said, Jesse Mach. She was like, what? Yeah. So
that's cool.
She was. Now, and then one thing, there was a girl, I can't remember the episode, but I'll never forget it. There was a girl I don't know if she was just a character for a day or whatever, cute girl. And I'm like talking to her stuff, and she turns to the director. She goes, are you going to film him with those nose hairs coming out of his nose? I was like, what? So I obviously I didn't ask her out for a beer.
No, indeed. Seth wanted to know, because he's very keen on the filming schedule. He wanted to know, after the pilot, what was the actual first episode you guys filmed and the last? Because I think how they were aired was not how they were shot. And he's quite interested to know that.
You know what? That's a long time ago to tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't put that together, because you seriously, and this is, there are fragments of memories that are indelible. I remember in the midst of when you're making a movie, you might shoot half a page in a day. When you're making a series, you're shooting 12 pages a day.
Right.
And we finished one episode. We went to lunch. We were on the lot. I came back from lunch to the squad room, and there's a new director who I only worked with once. He goes, hi, Rex, so-and-so. Okay, when you come in, go to sing, and Banana come around there. We're like, okay, here we go. A new episode. I didn't even blink. I finished one episode and started another one.
That's cool. There was a few name choices before they decided on Street Hawk, and we were just wondering if you knew what they were. We know, but do you know what they were going to be called? Yeah,
the Falconer. That's the only
one. There's another one, and Nighthawk.
No. There was a Honda motorcycle, street. there was a Honda had a problem with. There was one they named.
That's
their
right.
bike.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called. We'll put that up for. Maybe somebody can answer that question.
Maybe we can answer that. Yeah. Well, apparently, apparently, when they took you on, it was called Nighthawk.
Nighthawk, that's it.
Yeah,
But
that's
that was
it. When they took you on. Yeah, so they couldn't do it because they got to sue the studio. Yeah.
Yeah, but Street Hawk was better.
It was. It worked. It worked. You know. Do you know whatever happened to Jesse's Mustang? Did you ever see it afterwards?
No, but no. You know what?
Did you keep it?
I wish I could have probably bought it for $25. You know what? They held on. That was one prop they held on to because it had been resprayed for yellow. It wasn't original. Okay. So they and I tell you what, it was the engine used to knock, like, you turn it off and the engine would keep going. I can't tell you how many shots I'd pull up my thing, jump out, and then before it's out of the shot, it starts. And it was like, we got to do it again. I'd go, can somebody put a carburetor in this thing? But I would. That's good. I'd love to have one.
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Like,
I think. Well, yeah, Colin was on about trying to get a '69 Mustang for the show, and they're very, very rare, very, very rare, Yeah. Are you in touch with any of the cast and crew still, Rex, or just as and when?
Yeah,
it's difficult, isn't it? It's a long time.
Joe and I stay in touch.
Good.
I love him, and I still have. I think we had a wonderful chemistry it wasn't like a lot of actors that they hit the mark and they have this chemistry on camera, then it's like, go their separate ways. I mean, he at the time, he's married with kids and I was, solo in my life. And, but our friendship and that rapport was just what it was on and off screen. It made it as comfortable as as an old shoe. It was just, it was so easy to, and I just loved, I thought they did a great job of casting, not saying that I was the great job of casting, but to put our two personalities together, it just, it was a very good fit.
It was. I think that's what stands apart from the other shows that came before you, because nothing came after you.
Yeah, there was a distance,
and it works.
The camaraderie that we had, and that sort of interplay, and the humor. Yeah. I think the show really was. I think, in terms of just cinematic work, was top of the pyramid. It was it was the tail end, Charlie, of the action series, but it's, call it spit and polish. The actual accomplishment, the movie making of it was it wasn't a gimmick. It was really, in some ways, like the thing about hyperthrust, they were futurists. This was before GPS.
Yeah.
So they had triangulation, satellite and stuff, so that it could go 300 miles an hour. They were riding the future. And I say that to my wife, because that's about all I can talk to right now. But script writers, movie writers, they're the futurists of the world. They're the Jules Verne. And it was amazing technically how many things we take for granted now that were like just pure science fiction when we did it.
There's quite a lot of saying that Norman invented the internet, because there was an episode, I think it was Dog Eat Dog again. You were trying to research a record company, and he said, "Wouldn't it be great if all this was just available on one computer?" And I thought, and that's it. It's the truth.
Yeah,
that's what happens now, isn't it? It's the internet, and Norman invented it.
Yeah, and some writer in his writing cubicle or his morning coffee came up with that notion. It's wonderful.
It is. The backflip scene in the pilot.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, was it a model or was it animation? Do you remember?
I don't know. I suspect it was blue screened or something. You know,
Right.
that
Okay.
if there is a, like, I have a shot. There's my hero wall here.
Right.
One of them. I've got my Broadway thing, another thing, but this. Right there,
Yeah, that's it.
you know, you can see the technical aspects. There's blue screen,
Yeah.
and that very well could be the beginning of that shot.
Yeah. Was that you on there, Rex?
No.
Right.
But look at the wonderful, the light. It's a beautiful Hollywood shot.
That's it. And the jets
And
and all that. Yeah.
there is, I have the, shoot, I'll put that up later. I have the, I don't know if you can see that right there. That's camera B. That's the B camera clapper from they gave that to me on the last day.
Oh, cool. Oh,
And
that's really cool.
It says stripper on it. It's kind of knocked off. Stripper 1, take 1.
Cool.
I told you we were bad boys at university.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think that's all the questions I've got. Colin, Mick, are there any questions from the fans out there watching?
Wow, Rex, it's amazing to see you on the show and B, to hear your stories. And I'm sure you've got stories to go on for hours and hours, but we're only going to keep you for 3 more, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, I'm not kidding. But yeah, we've got plenty of questions come through, so I'll nip off and I'll put them on there and let John read them out to you, Rex.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, first one. Okay. Question for me. I'd love a rundown of the bike, please. What's the bike underneath, all the mods, and what are the mods you've done to turn it into Street Talk, and how functional some of the mods are? Well, it's a Honda XL motorbike underneath. It's a motocross motorbike. Mine's a 1984 model. I bought it in Newcastle, of all places, and got it home to North Wales. And it's, as I was saying to Rex before, the pilot bike is quite fragile and it was cumbersome really compared to the series bike. So yes, you could ride it, but I think it would probably shake apart after a while. So they're not very functional. More of a beautiful thing to look at than anything else. And do I feel like a Norman Tuttle to Rex's Jesse Mach? Yeah, I suppose I do. And especially with the new build that I'm building, and I'm keeping that secret for now. So there'll be something else to go with the bike at the next Comic Cons that we do, and that's going to be pretty much Norman's world. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, Pamela, did you ever expect Street Talk to be as successful as it was, Rex?
Well, I'll tell you, the show was originally scheduled to be 8 o'clock on Monday nights, and the president of ABC got fired for doing this. He refused to take a summer replacement series off and kept it in our slot. And that was really the demise of the show, because we went on in mid-January as a mid-season replacement, Friday nights at 9. It's a sad story that that was really the beginning of the end for it, because the series was over $1 million an episode. But it has been amazing to me, the longevity of fans and interest in the show. And I think it speaks well for the creators and the enablers, from camera operators to crew, to really made something that made an impact that lasts to today.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what sets it apart. I think it's the old adage, isn't it? Always leave them wanting more, and I think that's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
It does set it apart.
There's a James Dean kind of aspect to that, like the what if kind of keeps the interest. It's true.
That's
it. Didn't run out of string. Yeah.
But we've always said that it didn't get it never got boring, because it didn't have time to get boring. So that's a good thing, because the other ones, they just carried on. They added new bits to the car and the helicopter, and it just got boring. So now,
in France, they chop it up. It still plays. They chop
Yeah.
it into 20-minute
Yeah.
shows.
That's
And
it.
so they made it into like 30 episodes or whatever.
Yeah.
And
It's still showing here in the UK.
when I was in Paris, it was amazing. People were coming up to me going, "Oh, yeah, tout mécanique, ooh la la." I'm going, "Who?" Like I guess the fast machine or whatever. So,
Yeah, that's it.
you know.
Question from Emma. What is your most memorable moment from Street Hawk? Have you ever owned a bike? And if so, do you have one now? Well, we've discussed this many times, haven't we?
I've had many motorcycles. I made a promise to my wife that until my last child is 18, that I won't fly a plane or ride a bike because you know, it's ego, you know. And I tell you, I was talking with one of my daughters. I've got 3 daughters, 2 sons, and I've got 1 grandson and a granddaughter coming in a month.
Brilliant.
I'm here for them. And you know, if I haven't, I think I've had about 6, I could say 6 worthy, you know, it was 9 of my 9 lives that I've used up in racing. And I used to fly a open cockpit biplane,
Right.
and that was and aerobatics was my passion. So I at this moment, I'll tell you what, my 65th birthday is coming in September. And I was saying to my wife, I found this e-bike. I want to get this e-bike. But the reviews on it were horrid. So I'm still in the search, but I do want to twist a throttle. But I said, it's going to be, you know, about maybe, you know, 30 kilometers an hour right now, not 300.
That's it. Well, many people won't know this, but I don't even have a bike license. I can't ride a bike. So, you know, you've got a massive advantage on me. I have taken the Street Hawk for a run up the driveway, but I had a little accident, shall we say, a few years ago, and I've never done it again. So that's cool.
Yeah.
A question from Ellen, who is a big fan. You know, Ellen from the Forever for X group. Rex, do you think there will ever be a new version of Street Hawk? And would you like to continue in the role as Jesse Mach, I assume?
Well, a few years ago, I met with the 2 creators of the show. One is not with us anymore. And hammered out a scenario for a reboot. And got some real interest in it. My idea was that on the actual Street Hawk scenes, when Street Hawk hits the road, it would be in the style of Grand Theft Auto. It would be actual, because audiences are so used to that style, and it's also gotten so. There are a lot of guys who have modified, or several in the world, that have modified Grand Theft to put Street Hawk in it. And it does amazing things. It hops trains,
flies,
flies. I mean, you know, and my thought, my pitch was that we would offer each episode's whoever could win the day on the Street Hawk in a gaming scenario, that their actual gaming moments would be used in the show, and they would get a walk-on in the show, right?
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to, I had FX station, you know, that entity, very interested in the idea of sort of the double audience, the double revenue, and one would feed the other. And unfortunately, when it got down to that, which happens, I call it bubbles in the blood, the producer became fearful that I was going to move ahead without him. And I said, we're the original, you know, it's been sitting for 25 years. I said, we're the original components, you and I. I'm not going anywhere without you. But it's it's hard to change somebody's mind when they're thing. Out of that fear, I was unable to do it. Now the thing is, though, if if I could get 100,000 just signups online. There is a site which I don't have it in front of me.
It's okay. We've put it on. Yeah, we've put it on the. It's on the thing now, so it's on our command center website. So if you go on that, you'll find it.
We'll go to Street Hawk Command Center, right?
Yeah,
on
yeah,
Facebook.
it's there.
Go to Street Hawk Command Center on Facebook and just sign up on this thing for the return of Street Hawk. If I get 100,000, there's like 2,000 or whatever on there, because it's never really been, it's all about reaching the audience. But if I get 100,000 signatures, then I can get into the room with the real powers that be at Universal.
Yeah,
and that was the mark that they gave me. They said, you go get 100,000 people to say they want to see this show. And, that's the way it is. It's all a digital world. But just that number rings the bell. If I get 100,000 of those, I can go to Universal, and we've got a shot at really at a real-time discussion about a future for the show. And that is dependent upon, like I say, 100,000 signatures on I can't remember what the site's called, but it's not a funding site, but it's just a signature site.
Like a Survey Monkey kind of thing, yeah. Yeah,
and it's not that I have all interest in that. It'd be a wonderful thing, but I've got day-to-day stuff of, I'm a performer and I do theater and music and tours and such. And but if that thing catches fire, if you got 10,000 can double down, because you got 10,000 people telling 10 people, and then you get 100,000. I get 100,000 of those. It's like the coin of the realm. I've got something to unlock some doors. So
cool. Well, you heard it here, folks. Get your friends to sign the petition. Let's get it done. Okay.
Yeah.
So a comment from David Green, my good friend, who he said, "Thanks for the shout out. Trying to listen as best I can with all the crying in my arms." So that's
hey,
cool.
You're preaching to the choir, Dad.
Oh, I tell you, first time dad. God bless.
Yeah, God bless. Because I tell you, it's too quiet around my house now. Everybody's grown up.
Yeah, exactly. Ian, he would love to see you reprise your role as Daredevil in the new Doctor Strange films, Madness of the Multiverse. So yeah, a lot of people don't know this, do they?
No, I am the original Daredevil. Where's that? Here's a cool shot. I'm just pulling stuff off my wall. But there's me and
Lou,
right there, with Stan Lee and there's Bill.
Lou, Bill Bixby.
Yeah. And that was my idea. They were going, "Now get a picture." I said, "Hold on. Let me get up on this thing." That was in the courtroom. Grab those flags to stand there. So Daredevil was it was a backdoor pilot, they call it. It was a movie called Trial of the Incredible Hulk. But the purpose of the movie was to introduce me for a series as the Daredevil. Anyway, it tested beautifully. Bill Bixby said that, he said, "Rex, you tested off the charts with the audiences, and he said, we're going to series." And as it turned out, it was an NBC movie. ABC was coming out with The Flash, and they bought the show and squelched it because they didn't want the competition. No. Only in Hollywood, only me, it seems like. I think I'm the only guy it ever happened to. When you sign a contract to do a backdoor pilot, in May, they're either gonna make it or not make it, and you're free. But they held on to it for a year. I couldn't work. I mean, I couldn't work in anything. I ended up doing dinner theater in Calgary, Canada. I was like hiding under the radar. And also out of that, after that, I was, it was between me and Michael Keaton to be original Batman. Because,
I remember,
they came to me, the studio said, "Listen," I remember sitting with the president saying, "You're going to be what Sean Connery is to James Bond, because you've already proven yourself as superhero twice. And the studio wanted me, and the director, of course, had worked with Mike, and he was the choice that went. But I got to put on the uniform, and I got to test. And I only say about stuff like that, I always go to the sunny side of the street. I go, if I got people go, geez, you almost were Batman. I go, yeah, but I probably would have wrapped a Ferrari around a light post, in Malibu at 150 miles an hour. So it was all for the best. I got 5 children, 2 grandchildren, so
that's cool.
Real world.
That's cool. Not from Dave Hanko, not a serious question, but Rex is also a musical stage star. So how about Street Hawk the musical? Hey, it's been done with Back to the Future. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm a man. I'm not a machine or whatever. I don't know. There is, you know what? I'll just flip this around real quick, and you can just see there's a bit of my Broadway. There's some good stuff there. That's a lot of theater in my life. And each one of those shows is a 6 months to 2-year commitment. So that's a lot of time. That's one reason, I'm in very good health. And, people are kind of amazed, that I'm a senior citizen, but 8 shows a week,
that'll keep you tip top.
It's an athletic endeavor. And, it's unlike football, you don't end up with bad knees from it.
No, that's right. Any more questions, guys?
Yeah, and listen, this is amazing. I think, Rex, next time you come on, can we have just a whole episode with your walls? Because I think that's absolutely amazing. Some of the stuff on there is just fantastic. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. There's here's a good one. Here's Jackie, Jackie Onassis, but the first lady. And I think she was known as the hardest one to ever have a picture with, but there I am with no shirt on. That's pretty classic. That's Rex and Jackie O. There's me and Tom Jones, my mate. Tom is always put me front and center, and we always have a pint after a show, and he was on Solid Gold when I hosted that. He was on twice, and we just made a good friendship that he's just it's pretty. I'm well chuffed when Tom, when we have a.
What a legend. So, Rex, what do you think of obviously you and John are pretty good friends now. What do you think of his work on the bike then? You must be really impressed with the work that John does.
There is a video of me existing somewhere on YouTube of walking up and seeing it. It was a time machine. It was, he did create sort of the Back to the Future moment. There it was. And there's only one guy in the world that can climb aboard Street Hawk, and I'm happy to say it's me.
So I got a question. So my question. So I was a big fan when I was a kid, and obviously I was a big fan of Knight Rider as well over on NBC, and Airwolf, which was on CBS. Right? Was there ever any talk behind the scenes with the producers? Did they ever discuss the other shows? Was there ever, because you was all on in 1985, weren't you, for that year? Was there any ever talk from your producer saying we need to do this, or Airwolf guys are doing this? Was there any of that?
No, the Airwolf, Jan Michaels' star trailer was behind mine when we were on the lot. His soundstage, we had 2 sound stages, and Jan Michaels behind me, and I would see him, in and out as we were going in and out of the, sound stage and such. Sadly, he was drinking vodka from 7 in the morning on. I mean, he always had a styrofoam cup full of vodka. I was, you know, it's one of those things. What are you gonna tell a guy? You know, but I you know, in my heart, I'd go, God dang, talented and as handsome as could be, but you know, show business is the most dangerous drug in the world. Michael Jackson's oh, well, then here, speaking of Michael, I mean,
we're off to the wall.
You were off to the wall again. I mean, there's, I don't know if that's it. Is that in the shot? There's my guy, right? Like he got, I mean, I don't know. It happened that I'm wearing a red bow tie when he's in the Thriller jacket. But I met, well, I'll tell you that story in a second. But you know, Michael is a great example of that, of fame is the most dangerous drug. And me, just like, I've always just kept moving ahead, not looking behind, and just, you know, I'm a curious cat and what's around the corner. But I'll tell you the story of how I met him. It was the opening night of the musical Dreamgirls, and Michael Bennett, who directed it, who was the great director, he said, Rex, listen, will you take, you know, the girl playing what's her name from the Supremes, Diana Ross, will you be her date for the opening night? I said, listen, I got a girlfriend. I mean, whatever. He said, come on, Rex, come on, do it for me. So, you know, I'm at the show and I went to the men's room and it looked like a Stanley Kubrick set. It's all white on white urinals, like those stand-up urinals, like 20 of them. It's all white tile, white, bright lights. I'm the only guy in there. The show's going on. Door opens and there's Michael in the Thriller jacket, the red jacket, like boom. He comes and he unzips next to me in the next stall. I'm like, okay. And I had sung Beat It on the show Solid Gold. And he went, so here we're both standing, you know, I'm like, and he's going, I saw you sing Beat It on the show. I really like the way you sing. I went, well, I like the way you sing. And I wonder who's going to zip up first, you know? You're a really good singer. I said, well, thank you, Mike. And anyway, that led to, that shot was the night that I met him. And in the, you know, just in that kind of world, when you're in that level, I find that when you're in that level, I found in showbiz, you can, when you get up in the rarefied air, the air is very smooth. Like when you're on the Concorde, it's just smooth and fast and moving very fast. And it's rough and tumble, you know, at the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. But it was interesting and cool. It was a strange kind of friendship thing, because in those days it was always a courier or something. You didn't have phone stuff. There would be a package delivered to me, and it'd be full access things for his concerts, front row stuff. And after every show, it'd be the same. I'd go back and go, did you like the show? I went, yeah. I said, did you like my singing? I said, you're singing? Are you, come on, Michael? Are you kidding me? Come on, give me a little moonwalk. And it was the same kind of conversation. And yet that was just sort of the level he was at. But I was, for a brief moment, not entitled into, you know, a peek into the kingdom or whatever, you know, but I never took it. I've never taken, my dad told me when I started out, he said, remember, all fame is fleeting. And I just live by that. I don't try to hold on to it. I try to put a best foot forward in every day, you know, in life. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's some great words. So did Michael zip up before the moonwalk though?
You know what? I'm telling you, that goes with me to the grave. You know.
Okay, that's great.
Gentlemen never taught.
That's great. I'll move on. So you're taking it. We're talking about Knight Rider and Airwolf and Street Hawk, them cool shows back in the day. Like now, you would see a lot of studios would quite happily do crossovers. Like you see especially you look at like the Marvel universe, you look at the crossovers that they come in. How cool! Like looking at it now, Street Hawk / Knight Rider / Airwolf show. Oh my God, that would be amazing to
like a mind blower. But you know what? Having been involved in the entanglement that happened of just talking about a reboot of Street Hawk, the excitement that happened was incredible. And then the roadblock of thinking that someone thinking they're going to be left out and would rather just take it down. You can only imagine between studios and litigation and decisions by, groups, be very hard to pull off. But I think I really do. And this isn't, in my thought of a reboot is not, I mean, even though, we'll just do this. We'll let you decide. And let me, this is John's handiwork right here, but I tell people that it's from the studio when they come in. Because it's from his studio. Listen, craft is craft. But I just can never find the thing to turn it on. But you stay with me. Don't change that channel. It's right here. It feels like I have to follow the wires to find the box. There's the box. Then I have to find the bloody thing. There it is. There we go. Now you tell me.
That is awesome.
There we go. That looks pretty rideable.
That's cool.
I mean, you tell me. You can put me on that thing and fire it up and let's go. And
John, I need one of them.
Beautiful.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I said, John, yeah, that's absolutely amazing. The level of detail you put into that for Rex himself to be saying that it's more or less from the studio, that's just stunning, my friend.
I mean, that is. Are you kidding me? Listen, it's prettier than the pilot one. It is.
Wow, John, that is an intense compliment for Rex to say it's prettier than the one in the show.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, let's get Colin in. I'm sure Colin's got a couple of questions probably. Let's see if we can get him in. Here we go. Let's get rid of me.
How you doing, Rex? I want to ask about working at Universal. There's one of the shows, I think it's Vegas Run, where you're actually on the Back to the Future set, the Hill Valley set.
Oh yeah.
Whether you can kind of share some of your experiences about working there.
Listen, shooting on the Universal on the back lot was the worst place in the world to shoot because it's you're shooting and you go and action and then there's going beep beep. Oh look, everybody, they're filming so and so. And I remember saying to the director, I was just like, we couldn't get a take because you only have maybe 3.5 minutes because another tram's going to go by with stuff. And I said, listen, can they just hold that for a second so we can get the shot? He goes, when you make as much money as the tour does, then we'll hold it. Okay. And so it was working on the soundstage was great, but shooting on location in the thing was a nightmare. But it was a gas too, to be, to look at, you now in reverse, I see movies and I know spots on the lot and then how, what was a diner became a coffee shop, became a library, a bookshop, just a little paint and a little, and there you go.
That's very cool. Very cool indeed.
You know what? The most dangerous stunt I ever did was I was showing off. I was on the bike and I was driving the bike after we were shooting. I drove the bike back to the soundstage, and there was a tram, and they're going, "Look, it's Rex Smith of Street Hawk," and I pulled a wheelie on it, and that thing, I mean, like I say, the brakes, you just breathe on them. But I went, almost past vertical. I was doing a wheelie past them. If they had seen my face of like sheer terror, but they're all going, "Yeah!" I'm like, "Whoa!" Like, come on, get that front wheel back down. I almost took out a very nice bike, and who knows about myself at that moment. But hey, that's one of the 9 lives right there.
It's very cool. It's great for you to share those stories with us.
It really is.
Can I just ask, Colin, how do you feel about Rex nearly being the 89 Batman?
To be honest, I had no idea. No idea. I mean, we did Batman show last week. I don't know if you managed to catch it, but yeah, I had no idea that you did the audition for Batman.
Yeah.
See, the exclusive series, Cars and Cars.
But Rex, we want to hear Rex say, "I'm Batman."
Oh yeah.
The last meeting I had, I got up early and went surfing with a buddy of mine, just to, because I'm going to sit down with the president of the studio and such. And of course, his car broke down, and I'm in Huntington Beach. I didn't have time to get back home now, and I just showered at the beach, just like showered the sand off. I was just wearing like Ugg boots and some shorts and, whatever, and a sweatshirt because we got up at dawn patrol, like 6 a.m. Anyway, I flagged down a cop and I said, listen, I'm meeting with the president of the studio for Batman. I got to get to not the Fox lot. It was, it's the one down in the valley. Anyway, he goes, I'll give you a ride. I go, what? I mean, this is Huntington Beach all the way to Hollywood. And so I rode to the studio. He dropped me off at the gate in a cop car. And he goes, hey, you got to find your own way home, but good luck. I said, you look for signs, in the universe when you're an actor up for something like that, like this is definitely. And when I was going, I mean, I'm just sand still in my shoes, but it was a good story because I looked pretty good coming to the thing like a guy that's living life as opposed to, a poster boy. And I told them the story. They were howling, saying a cop dropped me off. I thought this is it. To me, that was like I was rubbing the lamp, and Batman was going to come out of it. But, the other thing, when I did the thing for the Daredevil, I also signed up before we started shooting the series to go to Europe and make 50 episodes playing Zorro. Okay. And so when I did a screen test for that and I got the part, the thing is the camera operator and stuff was my crew from Street Hawk. It was like, hey guys. And they put me in the original Zorro costume from the Disney 1950s Disney show that Guy Williams wore. They cut my hair so it matched and made a perfect mustache out of my hair. Like they just laid in the hair. So I had a perfect pencil stash in the thing. And that's attached to Bill Bixby going, I was looking at a 65 Porsche 356, one owner, SC, fucking mwah. And I said, Bill, look, I got my eyes on this Porsche. And he said, kid, buy it. We're going to series. So I went and bought the Porsche. My agent said, hey, you got Zorro. And I remember I played in a celebrity basketball game, and I'm playing with George Clooney. And we're warming up, and he goes, because I guess he tested too for it. He goes, so you got Zorro? I went, yeah, I got Zorro. He goes, you're getting every damn thing, And I went sailing because it was, what was it? It was Memorial Weekend. And I took my boat to Catalina. And when I came back, they said, go. I partied. It was great. I get back and they go, you can't do Zorro. I go, why not? Because they canceled. They're not, NBC bought your contract. Yeah, but I can still do Zorro. I go, no, in the contract, it says you can't do any filming of any kind or whatever for a year. So that was like, but I got a nice Porsche out of it,
That's amazing. Guys, John, Rex, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, Rex, we really appreciate you getting up early to come on the show, and the people out there who are watching, I'm sure they're really, really pleased as well. So just a quick one. The winner of the Street Hawk DVD is Claire Bond. Well done, Claire. Get in touch. We'll get that sent off to you now. Big clap from Rex.
Hats off to John. John, I'm here for you every day.
Thank you, buddy.
You can twice on Sunday. Okay.
Listen, you guys can have your own show. We'll just go. Colin, come on. We'll just go. We'll just go. Guys, thanks for coming on. John, especially for coming all the way from sunny Wales. It's a big trip down the road. Rex, thank you very much. John, we'll give you a bit of a plug now. But guys, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Wow.
Who was that? Wow.
How cool is that? That's awesome. How cool is that? Rick Smith and his wall. What a show. That's another show in itself. Rick Smith's wall next week, people. So yeah, so for all Street Hawk related stuff, if you want to check out John's Street Hawk group, the Command Center, Street Hawk Command Center on Facebook, head on over there, check it out. It's really, really good. It's definitely worth a look at. And you can get all tips, and Rex will pop on there every so often as well. So guys, thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Please head on over to the Just Giving page if you can and make a donation. Everything we take from this show goes to Darien House Children's Hospice. As well, join us next week. We'll get a great show lined up for next week. And please subscribe and like our page and our YouTube channel, and that's brilliant. Colin, any last words from you?
Oh, awesome show. Really enjoyed it. It must have been great for the guys who's watching it. Us as fans watching Rex. Fantastic.
Amazing. Thanks, guys. See you soon. Stay well.